It is Friday, August 8th, right here on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns, presented to you by Rogue Sports Network. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson, and this is All In Horns. Today's episode, we are reacting to the coaches' top 25 poll that was released earlier this week. It has announced Texas being the number one team in the country and Ohio State being number two in the country. And that matchup being the first time in college football history where we are slated to have a 1-2 matchup in week one, August 30th. Really looking forward to it. I know it's been the talk of the town. It's been the talk of this podcast. I think over the last, 2 weeks, we've at least mentioned Texas, Ohio State. And so we're really looking forward to it. We're chomping at the bit to break that game down the week leading up to it. But Jake, we got a top 25 poll. We're going to kind of go over our initial thoughts on it. We're going to talk about teams that might be overhyped. We're going to be talking about teams that might be underhyped. We might be talking about teams that aren't even on the top 25 list that maybe should be on that top 25 list. Some honorable mentions of guys of teams that might be around number 30 and could be pushing for a top 25 spot. There's always that one team in the top 10 that ends the season unranked. Who's that team going to be this year? But Jake and I, we're going to have a full discussion on it. Probably going to go over a little bit of what the schedule looks like. I know Jake's been going off air. He's been like, dude, week 3, we've got this game. Oh, week 4, we've got this game. A great slate of games this season for college football. And Jake, I want to start off by saying in this episode, I think it's pretty wide open, dude. I think we have a very wide open year for college football in terms of what the top 25 is going, or what the top 12 teams come the end of the season going into the college football playoffs is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of new quarterbacks. And then in my opinion, some of the returning quarterbacks are overhyped. Drew Aller. And
Sam Levitt.
Yeah. Just a 10-second tangent on Drew Aller. If Penn State doesn't win a national title, it will be because Drew Aller sucks. Just like he's the reason they didn't go to a national championship game last year. I speak my piece. But yeah, I
digress.
I digress. But you have Arch Manning, new quarterback for Texas. New quarterback, Ohio State. Georgia, essentially a new quarterback. We've seen very little of Stockton.
A new starter.
Yeah, a new starter where the offense is going to be designed around him. Notre Dame, new quarterback.
Miami.
Oregon, new quarterback. Alabama, new quarterback. Miami, new quarterback for them. You look at the top 10 and really the teams with proven quarterbacks, in my opinion, that I do think are really good college, elite level college quarterbacks are Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier. But with LSU, what is the defense going to look like for LSU? What's the run game? What's the offensive line going to look like? The quarterback and receivers are probably good, but I could not be less in love with Brian Kelly even more just after hearing him talk in the Netflix special. Very unimpressed by him. We'll probably talk about the Netflix stuff next week, but just I think it's a very interesting year going into college football.
I completely agree, Jake. You talk about, did you even mention Oregon new quarterback with Dante Moore? And when you look at teams who have returning quarterbacks, let's look at those teams, starting with Clemson. Cade Klubnik, possibly the best quarterback, probably the best quarterback in the country. Now, we already did kind of sprinkle in Drew Aller and how we feel about him, but Cade Klubnik, with the 6th ranked Clemson Tigers. Now, again, these rankings subject to change because they're not the AP polls. However, the AP polls does follow the coaches polls fairly similarly. You might have Illinois at number 18 instead of at number 12. You might have, Michigan at number 17 instead of number 14. Like you might have some differences, but for the most part, a lot of these teams are going to be where they're at come AP poll, especially the top 5, I would imagine. You might have Clemson over a Notre Dame. I could see that being me personally, I'd have Clemson over Notre Dame. Personally, I might have Clemson over Penn State and Georgia at number 3. But I'm impressed with Clemson. I'm a Clemson fan going into this year. I think they're going to do big things. But talk about the quarterbacks coming in, returning. At Illinois, Drew Altmaier, this dude's a stud. He's a really good player, and Illinois might have, if I remember correctly, maybe the most returning starters coming off of a 10-win season of anybody in the country.
Yeah, and a schedule I think that kind of works out for them well. They open up against Western Illinois, games they should easily win. Got at Duke, really interesting second game of the year. That according to College Football 26, Duke's a powerhouse with how they sim in seasons. For those who know, they know.
Yeah.
But Western Michigan at Indiana shouldn't be near as good. USC, Purdue, they really don't play a top team until Ohio State, which is in the middle, kind of going to the back half of their schedule. So Illinois could be a team that we look at week 6, week 7 is number 5 in the nation, which would be pretty crazy. And they don't have to play Oregon, by the way. They don't play Penn State. They play Ohio State. And then they have a bunch of Big Ten teams on the schedule that we don't really know how they're going to be this year.
So with Illinois, now I know they're ranked number 12 right now, so they're not really under the radar. However, they do have higher expectations than probably they've had the last 20 years, 25 years or so. Are they this year's, for a lack of a better comparison, Indiana?
I think the schedule lays out for them to definitely have a high probability of being a playoff team. I don't know what the odd markets are for them making the playoffs, but with the schedule they have, it's very easy.
They're starting the season as a playoff team. They're number 12.
Exactly. And so you can drop a game at that point, especially let's say they win all the games that on paper, just looking at their schedule, that they should win. And that means they would have one loss at the end of the year. Because the only game I think they wouldn't be favored in, looking at their schedule, is Ohio State. And guess what? They get them at home, by the way.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if Illinois is not in the talk. Now, they could flounder out, the hype be too much, but it's not like they have to play Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State on the same schedule, and they go 9-3, and everyone goes, oh, they kind of flounder out for the offseason hype. It's like, really, no, they just lost to the teams that were better than them.
Correct. Yeah.
If they only lose to the teams that are better than them, they're going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be a higher seed than Indiana, probably, because they have the preseason hype to go with it.
Another team returning quarterback, Jake, that you and I both pretty high on, South Carolina at number 13 right there. You got Lenora Sellers, but you also have probably right behind Colin Simmons as the best pass rusher, edge rusher, maybe even defensive player at that defensive end position coming off of his freshman year for South Carolina. And so I think they're another team. They may not have the depth to make a deep run. They also are in the SEC where, any given week, if you're not bringing your A game, you can drop to Kentucky, you can drop to Vanderbilt, you can drop to teams like that, Tennessee and Ole Miss. And so won't be as easy of a road as, say, an Illinois or an Arizona State. But South Carolina, a team I could see very easily a top 12 team by the end of the year.
Yeah, and opens the season against Virginia Tech, by the way. Very fun week 1 game. I think the concern with South Carolina is you have the star power in Lenore Sellers. You have the star power in defense with Stewart. What's the supporting cast around Sellers going to be this year, especially wide receivers, offensive line? Seeing how that shakes out, and we're going to find out pretty quickly. Week 1, playing against a quality program, if they are going to live up to the hype. But they're a team that I'm almost surprised isn't ranked higher, just because of the hype they had around them last year. You have a returning quarterback. Maybe they'll be higher in the AP poll. But they're a team that, I think they're ranked kind of perfectly. That's kind of where I would put them, just because there are a lot of question marks there. And then I look right next to them. I think the most overrated team in this entire poll, Michigan.
Really?
What are they doing at number 14?
Do you think that they should be out of the top 25, or do you think that they should be 21 through 25?
No higher than 21 through 25. I think I just don't. To me, they have a really high ceiling, but they also think they have a floor of last year.
I think their last 4 or 5 games of the season last year, they had the number 1 defense in the country. I know they lost some of those guys, obviously a Mason Graham, a Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant. Those types of guys tend to matter whenever you're talking about the best defenses in the country. But and then you also, you end your season beating Ohio State and beating Alabama. With your final 2 games. I think that just left a good taste in a lot of people's mouth. You get the number 1 recruit in the country coming in and committing and probably going to be the starter week 1. And surely your offensive production can be a little bit better from the quarterback position than it was last year with Underwood into the helm. I agree with you. I think 14 is a little high. I do think that they're probably a top 25 team in the country, though.
Is their ceiling being a top 14 team in the country? Yeah, I think it is, because there's a lot of variables, but that's my problem is in a preseason pool, you're betting on variables. Essentially, you're betting on a true freshman quarterback coming in and being really good. To me, it doesn't matter that their defense was the number 1 in the country to end the year last year, because or at least in the last several games of the year, I should say, not number 1 overall to end the year, but they lost a lot of those key guys. You have a coach that isn't as proven as John Harbaugh. To me, there's a lot. When I look at the top 15, the team that has the most question marks is Michigan. Though I would also say I don't know why Arizona State is the number 11 team.
That was my next thing, was Arizona State being at number 11. I think that middle line right there, that 11, 12 through 15 is
Illinois. I can buy being preseason hype this year.
Who?
Illinois. I buy their spot, and I buy Ole Miss's spot.
Illinois, South Carolina, Ole Miss, I can buy where they're at. I guess it's more so Michigan and Arizona State, but Arizona State big time. I would not have. They lost Cam Scatterbo, who was like 85 to 90% of their offensive production last year. I'm not buying into Sam Leavitt just all of a sudden just being this. He played, I would say, below mediocre against Texas, and everyone's giving him the hype that he played this incredible game against Texas last year, where it was Cam Scatterbo, not Sam Leavitt. I do like Kenny Dillingham. I'm a fan of Dillingham. I think he's a good head coach. I think he's got that program in the right direction. Number 11 in the country after losing your best player. I'm concerned about. I really am. And so I do think, Jake, one team that I don't see on this list, and we'll get into that in just a moment, but I want to go to inside the top 10. I think that line right there, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami, is screaming fraud alert for 2 of those 4 teams. I don't know which one it is. It could be Alabama. I don't think it's going to be Alabama. The two that really start pulsing at me, LSU and Miami. I don't think that they finish top 15, top 20 in the country.
Yeah, I really have no idea how Oregon's going to be. I just kind of think Dan Lanning is going to be constantly a top 10 team,
a 10-win team.
Yeah, that maybe struggles to win a national title, but will be in the mix. LSU's a tough one, because you would think the reason I buy LSU in the top 10 to start the season, at least, is because of the quarterback position.
It's only because the quarterback position.
But and they're going to have good wide receivers, this LSU. But what's their offensive line going to look like? Losing some of the key guys there. Obviously, Will Campbell at the top of the list. The defense has, quite frankly, been not good.
They are getting
under Brian Kelly.
They are getting Perkins back after his season-ending injury a season ago, where they did end up losing 4 out of their last 5 games of the season, or 3 of their last 4. It was something along those lines where he did get hurt, but they are getting him back. But again, I don't think one player changes the defense. They did have a heavy transfer portal. LSU, I think, had the number 1 transfer portal along with Texas Tech in terms of guys coming in and recruits coming in, but Texas Tech was more so the most amount of money spent in the transfer portal, not necessarily the ratings of the players that they got. I think LSU was above them, but it'll be interesting to see if LSU can have all that mesh, and if Brian Kelly can kind of right that ship. That's where that's where my cause for concern between LSU and Miami, quite frankly, of they're replacing a lot coming from the transfer portal, not in recruits. And when you do get a bunch of guys that have never played together, relying on those guys, I don't know. It doesn't always spell for season long success. You might have a couple games where they mesh, but for the cohesiveness of the entire season and the consistency, I just don't see it with LSU or Miami.
Well, let's find out week 1 when LSU goes to Clemson in a night game. Probably the two best, I mean, just on paper, when you consider experience, as far as proven quantities go, I think the two best quarterbacks in college football heading into the season are playing against each other week 1. It's not even college game day, by the way.
Yeah, that's reserved for number 1 and number 2 up there with Texas and Ohio State. All right, Jake. We can kind of go down now towards the bottom half of 16 through 25. Here's one team on the list, or that's not on the list, that I find pretty interesting. Oklahoma.
Yeah, number 26 based off the coach rankings, by the way. I'm a little surprised. I'll be honest. I love that they're not in it. I also kind of hate it. I almost wish they weren't flying under the radar. I wonder if that's right, because I think they'll beat Michigan week 2.
So here's my thing is if I lined up Boise State and Oklahoma, not in the Fiesta Bowl in 2006, but just in the regular season, I think Oklahoma beats Boise State pretty handedly. I also think they beat Texas Tech. They probably beat Iowa State, probably beat BYU. So I would put them around 22-ish range, probably.
I think Indiana is only where they are because of last year.
Yeah.
They are a completely different roster this year.
Oklahoma probably beats SMU, to be 100% honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not I don't really know what to expect from SMU this year, how they're going to follow up that last season, not falling under radar. I think one of the interesting teams to look at, and a question I have for you, if Florida didn't have the schedule that they have, would they be much higher in the rankings?
Yes.
Which is an interesting thought process, because to me, they're going, let's not rank Florida too high. And I think the AP poll will follow in this thought process of, let's not put Florida too high, because they could end the season with 7 wins and maybe be the best 7-win team we've ever seen in college football, because they have probably the hardest schedule. Them and Oklahoma probably have the hardest schedules in college football.
DJ Lagway is 6-1 in games that he started, I believe, as a true freshman. He was bit with a little bit of the injury bug, and in and out of games, but the games that he started, I think he only lost 1 game last year. Now Florida did have a handful of losses, and that came at the beginning of the season before he got the starting nod. If I had Florida match up against Arizona State week 1 or week 2, I would take Florida to win that game. We'll actually get to see Florida and Miami play against one another early on in the season. So that'll be a fun one. I think, Jake, Tennessee's probably in that same boat that you just mentioned with Florida.
Yeah, I mean, actually looking at Florida, I think games he finished, I guess the A&M game, I can't remember if he got hurt or benched. I think he did start that, and they lost that game. But when I look at Lagway the rest of the way through the season after Samford and A&M, Kentucky, they won that game 48-20. Then you go down to LSU, they won that game 27-16. Then they beat Ole Miss, kind of spoiled Ole Miss's season. 24-17, dominated Florida State, who stunk, and then won their bowl game handedly against Tulane 33-8. I think in any other season, Florida would be top 10 going into the
go over their season, or what their schedule looks like for the people this year.
Well, they open against a school I've never heard of, just FYI, Long Island University.
Hey, that's a March Madness team right there.
Yeah, the Sharks, it looks like their logo's a shark. I'm going to go with the Sharks. South Florida, who I think is supposed to be pretty good this year as far as, outside the power conference teams go. But then they go to LSU. They go to Miami. Granted, that'll probably be more of a home game for them.
Yeah.
Then they go have Texas at home. Then they go to A&M. Have
What a
Mississippi State.
4-game stretch that is. LSU, Miami, Texas, A&M.
3 of them on the road.
Yeah.
That is the one game I wish was on the road is at home, granted. I think if Texas could choose, they would have played at the Swamp last year in DKR this year.
1,000%.
But then Mississippi State's they get a little bit of a break. But then going down the end of the season, Georgia, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, home against Tennessee, home against Florida State, who I would pray would be better this year than last year.
It still won't be great, but should be better, I would hope.
Yeah, they can't be much worse, quite literally.
No, literally, they can only be about 1 game worse. Yeah, so
you look at their schedule as far as ranked teams go. You got LSU, you got Miami, you got Texas, you got Texas A&M, you got Georgia, you got Ole Miss, you got Tennessee. That is 7 ranked games from looking at preseason rankings. I don't imagine many teams are playing against that many ranked teams. They are going against more than a fourth of the top 25 in their schedule.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And so, yeah, they're probably thinking, all right, well, they could possibly have 5 losses in their schedule. And quite honestly, we don't want a team that's ranked number 6 to start off the year to have 5 losses and make us look stupid by the end of the season.
Even though there will be one that does that.
Yeah, they will have that regardless. Correct. Indiana, I'm not sure they deserve a top 25 nod. I'm not 100% sure how much they lost or gained or anything like that. I know there's a lot of hype between for Texas Tech this year over what they did in the transfer portal, the amount of money that they spent. But I'll tell you this, Jake, Joey McGuire, if he has an 8-win season this year, he's getting fired.
He should be. If they don't win the Big 12 this year, I would fire him.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the hot seat to start this year off. I mean,
they are supposedly one of the top spenders in all of college football. I don't think there's anyone in the Big 12 who touches them.
No, they actually I heard something. I don't know if it was from Josh Pate, if it was from Greg McElroy, but apparently I think Texas Tech spent more money on their roster than the entire Big 12 combined.
I wonder if that is for sure true, because that is insane.
I'm pretty sure that's the number. Yeah.
But regardless, I would think with the roster they have, with the money that's being invested into it, if they don't win, he has to be gone.
Has to be.
Because why would you not spend the money to go get the coach you want? I'd imagine you can go get a pretty good coach since you all of a sudden have an unlimited budget at Texas Tech in all sports. Yeah. By the way, we saw what they did in softball. And I think getting to the national championship in softball gave Texas Tech a financial itch of going, we have all these big money oil, guys who want to see us win. They put in all this money to get softball, and then they go, oh, that worked. Yeah. Let's do this everywhere.
Let's do this for football, basketball. Hey, Jake, another team that is not on the top 25, Baylor. What do you Baylor, Auburn, not on this list. Auburn had a pretty good offseason in terms of getting, I think, the top transfer out of Georgia Tech, a wide receiver, and added to their core along with Jackson Arnold, the former OU quarterback. So Auburn not in the top 25, and they did a lot of work in the offseason to improve. Also Baylor, a lot of returning talent at Baylor. Sawyer Robertson, the quarterback, apparently has impressed a lot of people, especially national media people, of what he can do, and he's got a lot of weapons on the outside. I don't know about the rest of the team. The defense is probably lacking, but in terms of skill position guys and the quarterback, Baylor is your prototypical Big 12 stereotype.
Well, the great thing about Baylor is we'll know by week 4 if they have any chance of doing anything. When you open up, Auburn at SMU and then at Arizona State at home for 3 of your first 4 games, we're going to find out real quick about Baylor. I got to see. Baylor's just one of those teams I got to see, right? I don't really, I'm not going to buy into any hype with them. Which also, by the way, in the Big 12, we have Connor Weigman at Houston. That's interesting. We have some interest. The Big 12 is just going to be interesting because Baylor started the year horrendously last year, right? Then they closed the season winning their last six games, not
And
counting the bowl game.
I think Sawyer Robertson took over around that time.
He took over week 3.
Okay.
They lost to Colorado in overtime with him. They won their week 3 game against Air Force. Lost on the road to Colorado, a close game. Lost at home to BYU in a close game. And then lost to at Iowa State, not a very close game, but obviously Iowa State at that point in the season was one of the hottest teams in the country.
Yeah.
And then they didn't lose a game the rest of the way. So Baylor's an interesting one. I actually think that Baylor Auburn game it's obviously not the most exciting week 1 matchup. It might be the most intriguing.
It's fun
matchup because I don't know. I don't know what to think of either team. I think Auburn's going to be much, much better than
I think we're going to have each team scoring 40 points. I mean, if whatever the over is, I'm taking the over.
That can't be a low scoring game, right? That
no way.
Matchup just doesn't scream low scoring.
It screams shootout, and whoever has the ball last is probably going to win the game.
But I'm pretty excited to see that matchup just from I want to find out what these two teams are. Now, week 1 doesn't tell you everything because it's week 1 in college football. You are a much better team by the end of the season than you are week 1. You should be, unless you have a lot of injuries. Also a 7 p.m. time. One thing I love, by the way, about Texas, Ohio State being an 11 a.m. kickoff, or 11 a.m. Central, all these really fun games on the schedule do not interrupt with the Texas game.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do our instant reaction, and then we're going to have a glorious stretch of football to just bask in until 2 a.m. I'll watch Hawaii or whatever it takes to stay up until the last game is finished.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And like you mentioned, Jake, we have a very good slate of non-conference games through really the first 4 weeks of the season. Now, week 4 will probably be the lowest of the low, and then we're back up ready to go in conference play after that point in time. So I know we didn't really talk a ton Texas, but they're the number 1 team, according to the coaches poll, probably going to be the number 1 team in the AP poll. Jake and I actually, I don't know when this was, March, April, May-ish time frame. We actually had to look up, has there ever been a 1-2 matchup? And we were just kind of going over that. Now, there was a 1-2 matchup, Texas, Ohio State in week 2, but never week 1. And so definitely looking forward to week 1. And that's the episode today. And anything else, any other, teams that you think are, should be talked about in that top 25 list?
Nothing college football related, but the Adam Sandler movie Click, I need one of those remotes right now.
Fast forward.
Next few weeks of my life.
Actually, can I just
I'll
get
skip
severed?
through my birthday and everything. I just get me there.
I just want to be severed and just wake up, and then it's college football, and then I can be back. But I want to be severed from the time I hit end on the recording from this episode until about 30 minutes before the Texas Ohio State game.
Or a couple hours before. I want to watch all game day personally.
Okay.
But just that morning, wake up that morning.
How about the night before where I can stay up all night with the jitters of the day, that Friday night of just being Christmas morning.
7 a.m. so I can sleep, because I don't know how I'm going to sleep that night before, quite honest. I'm already a night owl as is. Thank goodness I don't have any babies in the house, because there's not going to be any sleeping for me that night. And there's going to be a lot of yelling on that Saturday.
It's going to be an intense Saturday. But all right, Jake, that's going to do it for today's episode. Again, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. I'm trying to get to 800 subscribers before August 30th, when Texas travels to Columbus, Ohio for that week 1 matchup. So please hit the like button, hit subscribe, get alerts. Spread the word, and we appreciate each and every single one of you listening. We come out with these episodes 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, dropping at noon each and every single day. That is Jake Jimerson. I am Tanner Carlson. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.